All right, let's get right to the heart of this thing.
Don't fight it, son. Confess quickly.
Strange women lying in ponds, distributing swords is no basis for a system of government.
It's evil! Don't touch it!
That was only one of the many occasions on which I met my death.
As your attorney, I advise you to start recording the podcast.
Oh, son of a bitch. Stole mine.
I'm an actually licensed attorney, damn it.
Oh, that's all right.
Welcome to Framework. This is John, one of the hosts of Framework. With me, as always, the other host of Framework, Al. As my attorney, Al. What do you think about the movie we're talking about today?
This is a very important movie to me. This is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. This is a movie that I have probably seen about as much as any movie out there. Although it's definitely one that you see in bits and pieces and very rarely sit through from start to finish.
And joining us as a guest, returning to the program, David Sarnecki. Welcome back, sir.
I was going to say, as this podcast attorney, I advise that the three of us do as many drugs as humanly possible before we begin.
It's a drug movie. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, directed by Terry Gilliam. Film came out in... what was the year here? It was 97, right?
Is this the druggiest movie ever made?
This is the druggiest movie ever made.
Yes, it's gotta be, I'd say.
I mean, you could take documentary footage of people doing drugs, and that'd be the whole movie, and it wouldn't be as druggy.
It would be less so than this. Because if only the drugs have gotten into like the film stock,
yeah,
the camera equipment.
I like you, Al. Found this to be a very important foundational movie. One that I've seen countless times. Countless times. I find it amazingly rewatchable. One of those movies that, well, it kind of just catches you at the right time in your life and you're in on it. I don't think that's really the cultural reputation. I think most people don't like this movie. I kind of think it's one of my favorites ever.
Certainly has a cult.
Yeah, well,
but
definitely.
Okay. So, David, you came to this a little later in life, perhaps, than we did. Did you see us as a impressionable teenager?
I first saw this about 20 years ago. It would have been around film school time, so teenager days, yeah.
A little more mature than when I was in high school, I guess. And
not by much. A couple of years, maybe.
You're also notably Canadian.
Well.
Thank you for that very relevant comment.
Yeah, as accusatory as possible.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that gives you a different sort of outsider perspective on this movie. It's and this material that is very wrapped up in America, the idea of the American dream, American politics in a particular time,
Right. Well, I guess I should say back in the day when I first saw this movie, I was way too young to be equipped to understand what I was even seeing. And I remember I didn't like it. And, to no surprise, the themes went flying right over my head. But this time I liked it a lot more. I'm much older and more equipped to understand what I'm seeing and, think critically. And I had a great time on this rewatch.
I wouldn't say it's a very thematically tight movie exactly anyway.
No.
And it's also one that requires no explanation if you bounced off of it. Like,
No.
what do you mean?
I've made it fairly clear on this podcast in the past that my preference is, meticulous plotting and closed loop good story. I'm not against vibe movies, but they have to really offer me something unique to rise above my disinterest. And boy, is this one unique movie.
Yeah, there's a lot on offer in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Yes.
There's quite a few things in the hopper. None of it is plot. This is
no.
It's not a plot movie.
That is really interesting, though, in the context of our Gilliam retrospective here, going straight from 12 Monkeys, which we talked about at great length, being a closed-loop plot machine, first and foremost, and
right.
how that's unusual for Gilliam. But to go from that to this, which is the most plotless, unstructured movie that I've ever encountered that still functions more or less as a movie.
I can't believe this got made. I have to stand in awe that somebody made this.
Absolutely.
And it's great.
Yeah. Like, I mean, this is one of those books that people tended to call unfilmable for a very long time, in large part because of the plotlessness, but, the amorality of it, certainly in reflection to, the 80s and Ronald Reagan, that he couldn't make it then for certain. So, it took a while for culture to get to a place where I think that it was even conceivable that someone would want to put this on screen. And then the challenge of actually doing it is a whole nother thing.
Oh, I think people were, Dennis Hopper would have been happy to take a crack at it in the 70s. But
right.
the structure is harder. That we have more, or Hollywood has more of a methodology for taking on immoral material than they do structureless material. I think that's the structure is a much bigger hurdle.
Well,
but
the 70s version of this, the 70s attempt of this exists, actually. It's the Bill Murray film, and they don't know really how to do it, they don't. They
don't attempt to adapt this or whatever. They skip right. So weird thing about that movie, part of Where the Buffalo Roam not being able to decide what story it is, and what the movie's about, is it skips around time a bit, and it skips kind of like straight over the part.
Yeah,
part of the time frame that this falls into, and yet it has to kind of assume a little bit of familiarity with this on its audience's part, and that's part of why that movie ultimately does not work.
On the other hand, this one does. This one assumes. I don't know. Does this assume you know what the hell you're getting into with Hunter S. Thompson and the counterculture and what he was and what he was doing? And because it certainly doesn't explain it. Same. I didn't know anything about this going in. I didn't know who this guy was. I knew it as a book that had a reputation. I kind of had it on a shelf with Catcher in the Rye or On the Road or something like that is kind of where it was arranged in my head. It's just sort of.
That's actually a sensible place. On the Road seems like a
right
piece, and that it's sort of a road movie. It's about disillusionment in post-war America.
Right, exactly. So I guess that's accurate, but it doesn't feel like those things, really.
I've got to say that the trailer for this movie is absolutely hilarious. If you guys haven't seen it, it's
it plays Magic Carpet Ride.
Yeah, it's Steppenwolf. It makes it look like The Hangover, and you guaranteed there was at least a couple people who got tricked into the theater who were sitting there during the White Rabbit scene. Like, what did I get tricked into?
That's a great trailer because
it's a very good trailer. Yes.
How else would you sell this movie? You couldn't sell this movie honestly. You have to trick people into it. And then that is kind of hilarious. And that's tricking somebody who thinks they're getting The Hangover into watching this movie is the type of humor that Raoul Duke and Dr. Gonzo would appreciate.
Here's the thing, though. I think a big part of why this movie works is because it does kind of have a Hangover structure and vibe to it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this is a studio comedy in some ways,
Yeah.
This slots in next to, like, Dumb and Dumber or Step Brothers in some ways.
Well,
Step Brothers especially, I think, is doing a similar thing. But obviously there's more. There's considerably more. But I think, hey, structurally, I think Step Brothers has basically the same shape as this thing. It's episodic and sketch based, and
it definitely is.
And one of the major takeaways that I got a lot more out of this than I ever had before, like I said, but it is so funny. It is a deeply funny movie. Johnny Depp is incredible in this movie.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I understand why he's got like a million quotes from this movie because there's just bangers left and right. It's great.
Well, yeah, and
tell me about the golf shoes.
Yes. And it warped his entire identity in life going forward. This movie ruins Johnny Depp.
I don't know. No. This doesn't ruin him. This primes him to be ruined. Is what this does.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a gateway drug. It's not the adrenochrome, but it's the acid in the bathroom at the Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's no Jack Sparrow without this performance.
Exactly.
Is my feeling. Like this leads straight to Jack Sparrow, and Jack Sparrow leads straight to him being the biggest star in the world for 12 years, which in turn leads to his ruin. And it is a pretty direct line, A to B to C.
It is.
Just a small funny aside. I'm pretty sure the Rum Diaries is another Hunter S. Thompson
It is.
Performance?
It is.
Okay, yeah, and
Uh-huh.
that happens to be the movie where he met Amber Heard. So,
Yeah. Well, hey, there you go.
there you go. Direct ruination there.
That movie doesn't hit anywhere near as hard as this, I can tell you. And I think Gilliam is the X factor.
Oh, of course, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also just Depp has clearly never shaken all of the Hunter Thompson persona, like ticks out of his own, like even off screen. Subsequent there, he's still carrying some of it around. You know, the oddball fashion choices. He got oddballer after this.
More scarves, more all that shit. Yeah,
he got very comfortable being considering himself one of the freaks, even though I think he's far too pretty and rich and mainstream successful for that.
Yeah, best
just
of both
just
worlds.
his walk in this movie is I could watch him walk all day long. He's got like his legs are flared out and he's always looks like what's this over here? He's going to go investigate something. It's incredibly watchable performance.
It's a gorgeous physical performance. It's like fucking Buster Keaton level of kind of physical control. This is like, this is the stuff that Jim Carrey does employed in a different way. It's wonderful stuff. It is an excellent, amazing performance. Benicio also has one.
Yeah,
in a very
Benicio might be
different
even
way.
better.
Yeah.
I don't know. How did we do a whole episode on the premise of we're going to award Oscars to comedic performances, and I forgot to mention either of these guys?
A mistake.
That's been really bothering me the last week. And it's because I don't think this is a traditional studio comedy.
Not at its core. No, it has elements of that. I think that's what makes it accessible. I think
it is deeply. It's everything about it is comic, but it doesn't have set up punchline rhythms and like comedic set pieces the way The Hangover would. And yet, you couldn't call this a drama. You could I found it very funny, but it's hard to describe what the jokes are beyond this guy on drugs said something very weird, and that should be the most insufferable shit that should get so old so fast, and it kind of does for some people, faster for some people than others. Obviously, I mean, look, we are. Three white guys here who saw this movie at a certain age. This does not have a lot on offer for women.
No, I'd say not.
God almighty.
But fine, not every movie has to be for everybody, and this is very much. I don't know how you do this movie any other way. There's the more accessible mainstream version of this movie sucks.
Sure does. Yeah.
So I'm not trying to correct it on that front, but it does get old even for us. By the end of this movie you are exhausted and it's no longer a good time.
Well, that's narratively what's happening too.
That's important.
Text
that it feels a little too long. I think it has to feel a little too long, because if it was the quote unquote right length, the whole vibe would be off. Then it would be just a more sort of oddball cinematography version of The Hangover, and that would not be right.
Well, I mean, structurally, this sort of happens, which is that the movie comes to basically an ending about an hour in, and as you would do on sort of a drug fueled rampage, kind of being like, I'm kind of still chasing the vibes here. How about we keep going? How about we double down here? How about we push this forward? And then that becomes too much. Then that becomes like, oh shit, we actually kind of overplayed our hand here.
It took too much.
So it mirrors the sort of the vibes of the weekend in that way, of the long weekend. Like, oh shit, it's Sunday night. We
the long 8-day weekend or whatever.
Yeah.
Speaking of the studio interaction with the movie, I saw in my notes that apparently what might be the worst studio note I've ever seen in history is that they wanted to contemporize this movie and set it in modern times.
Oh my God!
They wanted to set it in '98. I'm like, well, what would the movie even be? Like, it's literally just The Hangover at that point.
People talk about how modern movies and horror in particular get ruined by cell phones. I mean, this is a movie that is ruined by like a single security camera. And Las Vegas is the most surveilled place on Earth, so it really does not work in a modern context.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's a level of unreality, obviously. You know, we are in an altered state from frame one of this movie, and we do not leave it. Essentially, like,
Yes.
The objective reality of what's going on is basically, implied at most throughout.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. And this starts with we talk about Hunter Thompson. What a strange figure. I had no idea. I didn't know this was a book when I watched it. My friend,
Right.
my druggy friend, rented it from Blockbuster when we were having a sleepover when I was 13 or 14. And we put it on. I had no context for anything. And I was just like, what the fuck am I even looking at here? In a way that I imagine Hunter Thompson's original writings and the articles kind of hit people back in the late 60s. I was like, this is not a movie. You can't do a movie like this. You have to give me and everything in Death's performance is so wild and over the top, but it's because Hunter Thompson is such a strange figure and a real figure. Like, he is a true one of one. If you invented him as a character for a piece of fiction, he would ring so false.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow you just can sense some bone of authenticity right through all of Depp's wild hand and arm acting he's doing in this. But the guy he's playing, he's just one of God's own prototypes. And this movie is one of one too. It makes, on a structural level, not a lick of sense. It's a two-hander of a movie. There's only two characters of any note in this movie. And practically no one outside that main duo appears in more than one scene, right?
There's a few that might show up 2 or 3 times, Craig Bierko, but, he's certainly not a character in that way. Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
But it introduces those heroes already just raving, psychotically wasted. Which is not... I mean, it's jarring on the most basic level of if you're beginning and middle of a scene. But it also... The movie has given us and will never give us any sense of what, the quote-unquote normal personality of these guys might be. We never set a baseline where we see them in the vague vicinity of sober.
No, not at all. And, I mean, you see them, they kind of vacillate between who has their shit together.
Just from scene to scene, wildly.
Who's able to get them out of the lobby,
Yeah.
But even that, sometimes they both fail. And but
that's true.
But usually...
I was about to call them which one's the voice of reason, but it's not even that anybody's ever a voice. It's just which one is a voice able to form a complete sentence versus who's just incoherently writhing and moaning.
Well, so this should be insufferable, like you said. I think the thing that makes this actually work is the strength of the writing, specifically Hunter S. Thompson's literal writing. As it is included in this piece, and some of, I think, the best use of voiceover in a movie outside of Goodfellas. I think that is necessary and awesome, and the thing, something I love coming back to this movie for is just the narration given to it by Depp, in this committed vocal choice, taking the actual words that this kind of, frankly, a genius. That the reason we put up with Hunter S. Thompson is because he's really fucking good at what he does, and that is maintained here in the voiceover, especially.
This seems like a perfect opportunity to talk about what I don't know this for a fact because I'm not a super fan of the movie like you guys are, but I have to assume that the wave scene, the wave speech, is considered the...
Yeah, that's probably his most famous excerpt.
Yeah, the most famous piece of Hunter's writing, probably. Yeah.
It's absolutely gorgeous and eloquent and provocative and incredibly well constructed piece of artistic expression.
Yeah,
and I loved it, but at the same time, I've got to say, there's a part of me inside who's like Leonardo DiCaprio at the end of Once Upon a Time in Mexico, in Hollywood, and I'm in my wife's robe that's way too small, and I got a blender full of margarita, and I'm seeing goddamn hippies.
But that's so important to contextualize him as a hippie, like that. Their access as some sort of response, not like in the sense of justifying it, or it's a reasonable response.
Oh, sure.
Him being a shattered romantic, and that having actually bought into the Love Generation stuff, and then seeing Nixon reelected being the...
Well, I mean, this fucking movie came out, in the 90s, and we've seen this entire dynamic play out again since then.
Occupy Wall Street.
I mean, it's fucking nuts. Like, it's really upsetting, frankly. The Obama liberals basically had this exact experience again.
It's super, super frustrating to hear the line, "Our energy will simply prevail," and it's like that's romantic, but it's not an actionable political ideology. It's it's a high, and it was never going to be more than an escape. And I thought a lot about Occupy Wall Street and stuff like that, and it's so frustrating because we've already been down this road. Like, what do you expect to achieve? You need goals and effective leadership. And I guess my point is the whole movie kind of feels like a purgatory tombstone for that ideology of the 60s of the hope. And here is Vegas as this like rotting corpse of what's left of the, what comes after the dream is dead.
Yes, that's literally what it is, man.
Yes, that's what the hook is. That's what the... Can I read you a quote of a letter that Thompson wrote to Terry Gilliam after he saw the movie?
Oh, sure.
It's only part of it, so he's praising it. But he says, "This is not a funny story. It is an epitaph for a doomed generation. This is an incredibly intelligent film. It's an eerie trumpet call over a lost battlefield." I'm like, God damn, that is on the nose.
He's a good fucking writer, man. He's really, it's such. I mean, the fact that this movie can ladle that stuff out, right next to the white rabbit scene, or the lounge lizards, fucking Jim Henson's creatures fucking each other in the lobby of a Las Vegas casino, stuff like that existing contemporaneously, and feeling of a piece is nuts. That's crazy. And
that was so much work for that one scene. I can't imagine.
The whole movie's like that. Every scene is like, what the? It's
unbelievable.
The things they set up here. I mean, it couldn't have been that expensive of a film, but it certainly wasn't profitable at the same time. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well,
but how could it be with this film?
Yeah. Well, that kind of ties back to what we're talking about, this being just such a structural oddity of a movie, and how it's amazing to me that there is a level of coherence here to these characters. I mean, you feel like you know who these characters are and what they're about, even though, like I said, we never get a baseline with them being normal. I guess the little flashback to them at the lounge taking the call is as close as we get to them. I mean, we see that they have 10 drinks in front of them already, and they're probably already on drugs, but
they're already a mess. Yes.
Yeah. But beyond that, as we go through this movie, these guys just tell about 15 different lies about who they are and what they're doing to different people with no explanations provided. Like, even the voiceover is there to explain to us in the audience, like maybe what the real story is, but they never use it to explain where any of that's coming from, or why they find it necessary to suddenly tell Tobey Maguire 2 different versions of why, like, they're going to Vegas, like, oh no, we're actually going to kill a skag baron. We know
from everybody ripped this off.
Gonzo's, he's a motorcycle rider now, and then like we have no bearings whatsoever in this. Our guides are constantly hallucinating and heavily slurring every line, most of which are lies that we are supposed to especially to sort out on our own. And then we had all like Gilliam's, dutching and fisheye lenses to deal with and all that. I just am amazed that we get any sort of bearing on this and feel like we could have any idea who these people are, what they're doing. We especially never get a real name for Benicio's character.
Mm-hmm. No, it's
Dr. They're attacking Jeanette Goldstein, and just randomly now all of a sudden we're pretending to be cops.
You're saying that Gonzo isn't his legal name?
He may have changed it at a certain point. But.
He's Oscar Acosta, who's like an actual civil rights figure, and he was a big lawyer. Peter Boyle plays the straight version of him in that film, and that you get a sense of like, okay, it's interesting to watch that movie and give context to this performance, because I can kind of imagine Benicio in a courtroom after that, but it's also just like like it seems impossible based on what he's doing here. This is a beastly performance. I mean, this is
yes,
like. one of the most feral things I've ever seen, and like an important piece of context in the Benicio career. I think that he's capable of this level of just sort of mania. This is the most unhinged thing I think I've ever seen from him.
Apparently, he ate like 16 donuts a day to gain 45 pounds, so he could get that big pot belly.
Worth it.
Worth
it's
it.
Perfect for the movie.
Well, I suppose. I don't know.
It's two performances that are in such great conversation the whole way through. In just the fact that their pure mania is different, but compatible with each other.
Yeah, honestly, they're one of the best like cinematic duos.
Yeah,
I've ever seen. Like their friendship, obviously, it's pretty dysfunctional in some ways, and yet I don't know. I get why these guys like hanging out with each other. Probably not least because there are very few other people who can stand hanging out with these two people for a length of time.
They're great at yes-anding each other.
Yeah,
That's
true. Yeah, that's it. They're doing improv.
Yeah,
on top of all the drug shit.
They are.
And immorality and all that. You want to make it more insufferable? Let's add constant improv. Like short form. They're doing short form improv on every drug known to man in a very unpleasant environment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Tremendous stuff. And I do. I read reviews of this, and it's. And I see so many people are just like, this is insufferable. It's unwatchable. And I'm just like, I mean, I guess I could see how that would be for someone, but for whatever reason, I find this wildly entertaining and rewatchable.
You can't have two of the most charismatic and interesting performances I've ever seen in my life and call it unwatchable. That doesn't.
I mean, I
don't know if that translates.
I think it might be that simple, man. I think they really are that good here.
That's probably what it is. But it's amazing, like you said. I don't know, man. I can't be objective about this movie. Why would you want to be objective about this movie? It's a wildly subjective movie. It's the most subjective movie you'll ever find. Mm-hmm. And I don't know.
It's a masterpiece of college cinema for certain. You know, like there's a time and place in your life when this is the thing for you. And it sounds like we found that at the same time, Al.
Yeah. It's so invigorating that this movie can exist. Mm-hmm. Also, it's good that they don't try to make this movie repeatedly. This is how movies should be. Right. It's exciting to me that a movie can be this. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I said, I mean, it's running out of steam by the end of this thing, which is thematically appropriate, as said. But if you tried to make a sequel or a spiritual, sequel like The Rum Diary might have been trying to do, I don't know. I see that one entirely, because even if it was a very close sort of follow-up to Fear and Loathing in Style, I would go into it already exhausted with that style.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it would almost have to be about like trying to recapture a high and failing. Be the only way.
I mean, the book came out before.
It's the second act of the movie already.
That's what this whole movie is trying to recapture the high and failing.
Yeah.
But I love how he goes to the motocross or motocross, whatever.
The mid 500, mid 400,
right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And his job is to cover that. That's why he's in Vegas. And the movie just very quickly shrugs and just gives up on the plot of that. Yeah. And they're just like, we don't need plot. Let's go back to the drug use, which made me laugh quite a bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the story of the book, really. Like, he was going to write an article, ended up not doing it, and wrote his greatest novel.
I'm assuming you've both read the book?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. How would you say this film relates to? Because I'm very interested, and I want to read the book because
it's incredibly faithful.
Okay, well, yeah, I've heard
way
that.
More faithful than you expect. Like the rain affairs, the golf shoes are in there.
Right. I've heard that it's very literal. But the thing is with the whole Gonzo journalism is that his inner monologue and perspective is. I think it was Ebert's review or so, who hated the movie. That's a whole separate thing.
Oh yeah.
But the idea is that his perspective is very important to the presentation of Fear and Loathing. Did you find that's missing in a film inherently? Because you can only VO so much.
No,
Or did you?
No,
I
I think that the filmmaking gets across the perspective and that subjectivity so strong.
Okay.
that's the number one strength of the movie, maybe, is that success. And yeah, I think that the inclusion of all his writing is essential for that reason. And, you know, you get that baseline of sort of wisdom and wit that, you know, is absent in the actual performance, you know, because what he's doing on screen and saying on screen is mania. It's pure mania. But then you kind of cut back and have sort of this incredibly well-composed sentence that explains sort of the emotional feeling that he's experiencing at the time. You know, like that is the magic of it, I think.
Yeah, the level of sort of erudition in the voiceover contrasts wonderfully with the nonsense of the physical performance as it's being acted out underneath it.
The voice is really well calibrated to capture that too. I mean, It is based on Hunter directly, of course. Johnny Depp famously spent lots of time with Hunter S. Thompson to prepare for this performance, hanging out with him at his ranch, shooting guns, stealing pieces of his clothing to use in the film, all that sort of stuff. You know, like it is as direct a transposition of, you know, of I'm just doing this guy as you'll see. And yeah, it seems to have affected him permanently.
Yeah. Well, so about the book, though, this movie came out in a time, a different sort of era when the canard the book was better, even among like film people. That was the go-to. The book was always better. Even when the movie was like good or undeniably better than the book, like anyone who read, the movie was good. Everybody who read the book had to say it was better anyway. It felt like, and the ones were accepted as being better, like Jaws or The Godfather, they were sort of given that praise by way of saying the books were actually crappy.
Yeah, that's right.
But then this comes out late 90s, which is a time for me when that started to turn around, because I think of this with a couple of other sort of transgressive classics that like this, Trainspotting, Fight Club, and American Psycho, I'd say, are in a class together, where those are all books with some literary cred to them. They're all kind of like there's a white boy edgelord aspect to all of them, which maybe is relevant. But all those books, I would say, on their face, seem to be pretty much unadaptable. And then they all got what I would consider pretty much perfect adaptations in the course of a couple of years there.
Does Naked Lunch fit into there?
I have never read or seen it, so maybe. But also, that's a little bit earlier, so I don't know if it fits into my era precisely.
I mean, the book is of a similar kind. Well, that one's even fucking weirder, frankly. You know, there's monsters fucking people. Well, I guess there's that in Fear and Loathing, too.
I mean, Trainspotting has the same kind of distinction of being movies about drugs that get across the appeal of doing drugs without seeming like they're really endorsing it.
I think Fear and Loathing is endorsing drug use.
Okay, well, that's a thing to talk about. I don't think you know, like I don't think either Trainspotting or Fear and Loathing are offering a condemnation of drug use, really. But I don't think I can really
Trainspotting, you see the downside pretty good there.
Yeah. I think you feel a downside in the back half of this movie. Mm-hmm. Maybe it doesn't come across as strong when you turn off the back half of the movie 2/3 of the time you watch it.
Happens,
I don't think you can really accuse either of soft pedaling the cons of drug use is the thing.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some darkness in this film that rears its head, especially around the women. But I mean,
yeah, that's sort of interesting. It gets aggressively unpleasant with the. I don't know.
Well, Ellen Barkin is
the comments on misogyny. I don't know what we want to call it. The Lucy character, apparently, in the book, I understand Gonzo is completely naked when he comes out of the bathroom.
Yes,
which would be even more uncomfortable than it was. And then the
it's like the movie tries to elide the implication there. When you go out in the hall, he's being really. He includes the line about the throbbing uncircumcised member.
Mm-hmm. What do you guys make of that element? The misogyny. That's the one thing I'm not sure that I completely is it commenting on the misogyny of the 60s movement inherently? What is the point of that stuff?
I think this is honestly reportage of of something that was just real for, like, if these guys drew the line at their sexual appetites, You know, if they were such, you know, complete beasts and so given to wild abandon in every other regard, but they were like, no, we have appropriate attitudes about sex.
Yeah.
That wouldn't ring true at all. You know, there's these guys are pretty much accepted and embraced bestial oblivion.
Which is ironic, because Gonzo certainly is trying to imply that he draws the line and he's got chivalrous and all those things. He certainly tries to tell Duke that.
Well, I don't think I don't think either of them are, you know, would view themselves as sexual abusers, you know.
Right.
Like, I don't think that. I mean, the 70s and attitude towards sex is different too.
Of course.
You know, that's just going to be a thing. You know, this is you know, they're hippies. You know, this is the summer of free love is just come gone. They have a different attitude. Yeah.
Yeah, free love meant a lot of things. One of the things it meant was not checking IDs. What's interesting between about, you know, we talked about these two as a duo and how it's not that one is a voice of reason and one's that, because they flip flop constantly as to who's taking care of the other in a particular scene. But there is sort of as in the movie's presentation, a pretty strong cleavage between, like, all of the libido is in the Gonzo side.
For sure.
And Depp's performance is kind of sexless, or like doesn't appear to ever be that interested in that. And then I guess that makes Thompson the ego or whatever, because he's the voice, the voice over and the higher cognition. and like you said,
I think it's definitely doing that. I mean, it is compartmentalized in that way for certain. And, you know, who knows how accurate a reflection of that, you know, whatever. I think you kind of just need it in the structure of this film. and yeah, I think just innate to the performances, you know, Benicio's is definitely going to be the sex one. He's the one who's kind of driven by more physical kind of motivations, I guess. And Raoul Duke is the mental one in that way.
I mean, so you can make this one count in the book. This is less true because there's a couple odd like asides where he'll comment on a woman's attractiveness or whatever. But you could almost have a reading of the movie that the Depp's characterization is asexual.
Yeah, which I think can be a side effect of drugs. You know, certainly some drugs make you asexual in that way, like take away libido. Heroin, for one.
He's chasing other appetites.
Yeah,
always take precedence.
Mm-hmm. So that all seems to track, and it is like one weekend with a lot going on. So, you know, I don't think you need to really. You're not drawing an entire sexual history of these guys, although you get some sense of Dr. Gonzo, obviously.
Yes. Well, so on the drug tip, I kind of want to circle back to that. I think this is part of what makes Gilliam a really perfect fit for this. Because I think it might have something to do with him not being too much of a drug guy himself.
That's what he says, yeah. I find it hard to believe, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he was in the 60s and Python, like he was around it plenty. But he makes the depths of the depravity genuinely revolting when they're in that second hotel suite and all that, or that, you know, the bathtub and all that. And I think he has enough counterculture in him, maybe it's just enough of a curmudgeon, maybe, that he has this baseline of contempt for the squares that this material requires.
Oh.
And then he's also enough of a fantasist that he really has like no use or inclination to make like the sobriety or baseline reality appealing at all.
Of course not. Reality is never appealing in his films.
Exactly. That's what's so perfect about it. It means that, well, he doesn't really have faith in the drugs to transcend anything. He completely emphasizes with the impulse to reject reality outright.
Yeah, I think that's the key.
Lands this in a really like key spot for the tone, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's his movies, one after another. It's people choosing fantasy version, the fantasy over the reality. And, you know, sometimes that's Brazil, you know, and it's an explicitly dark thing, or sometimes it's Munchausen, which is triumphant, or you know, it's all of them essentially. Basically, even Fisher King is doing a version of this, and then there's this, and it starts with that incredible opening quote, which I think is one of the great opening quotations that you could put on a movie. He who makes a beast of himself gets rid of the pain of being a man, and he's like, oh yeah, That's what they're doing. Got it. They're in the embers of the 60s. Evil is won. Despite the feeling, the sense of inevitable victory against the forces of old and evil. The wave crested.
And they're flailing, and it's unpleasant and unromantic in a lot of ways. And yet there is never a single person in this movie, a sober person, a square, a voice of reason, who, as presented, you would want to be them rather than one of these raving beasts.
Okay, that is something that I definitely noticed this time. That for whatever reason, as a kid, as a teen, I don't know why I didn't get it. It's so obvious, but the bystanders, the so-called innocent bystanders of Vegas, they're awful in their own right. They're all on their own benders of materialism or power trips. Their minds are closed and then they want it that way. They're very judgmental, and I don't know why I didn't pick up on that. It's very obvious in just about every frame.
Evil won, yeah. I mean, Vietnam, it's all gone sour.
Yeah,
and he's got that incredible monologue. Voiceover monologue when he goes downstairs at like 3 a.m. and does some gambling.
Who are these people?
Yeah,
where do they all come from? Like caricatures of used car dealers. Yeah, like caricatures of used car dealers from Dallas. And sweet Jesus, there's a hell of a lot of them for 4:30 on a Sunday morning.
Yeah. But he says like dry humping the corpse of the American dream or something like that. It's a great line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those great lines just spill out of him. That's his talent as a writer. Structure, less so. But
yeah.
So, it absolutely fits with Gilliam. I'm surprised he's able to nail the Americanness, the Vegasness, the 60s-ness, the hippie stuff. Because, he was in England all through this. This was not his scene. And drugs not his scene, so he says. So I'm surprised he has the facility with making what I consider one of the best films about the 60s. And it kind of has this authenticity to it. Despite being one of the least authentic movies ever, that it's unreproducible.
Well, that squares with what I was saying about Thompson earlier too. Is that he has this core of authenticity to him, despite being what appears to be just a ball of affectations. But there is a core there, and that wave speech gives us the occasional little brief glimpse of the core underneath all of the. The visor and the slur and the cigarette holder and every other drug in between.
Yeah.
It's interesting that for what feels like most of this conversation, we've been focusing on Hunter S. Thompson, which is obviously appropriate, but this is a Terry Gilliam series. I was wondering if
now for something completely Gilliam. This is.
I was wondering if you guys could talk about your feelings of Gilliam on this movie as. I don't even want to say a work for hire job that's clearly super reductive of what is not a work for hire piece. But how do you feel about him interacting with somebody whose voice is so powerful and prominent? How do you think it's like a perfect blend? Do you think there's a ton of Gilliam in here? Do you think it's a lot of Thompson? What do you feel about that?
Yes and yes.
Okay,
perfect blend and there's a lot of Gilliam in here, but somehow he is the only person I could see channeling Thompson's voice onto the screen in a way that makes sense on the screen. Like there's other versions of this that were kicked around. He said, Scorsese played around with it, and it's not that Scorsese doesn't have a handle on like drug stuff. We've seen Wolf of Wall Street.
Oliver Stone.
Those are obvious choices, I think, that would make sense.
Yeah,
but
all of the stuff, like the wave voiceovers would be like 40% of the movie for Oliver Stone.
Yeah.
I
mean, they are about. But
I think Gilliam's sketch or not. Yeah, I mean, his sketch comedy background is actually perfect for this series of sketches that sort of become less. There's sketches all the way to the end. The Ellen Barker thing in the diner is a sketch. It's just all the comedy's been drained out of the sketches by then.
I mean, this is, I think, a great demonstration of his talents as a filmmaker, though. Beyond just like we like his vibe and his theming and his production design and all that stuff. This is him interpreting somebody's work and making it in conversation with his own, kind of picadillos and interests, and that I think he's doing here better than anybody. And I look at this movie and I think that's why people thought he could do like Watchmen, or why he was J.K. Rowling's first choice to adapt Harry Potter.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think Time Bandits probably was more of a.
Oh, I'm sure it wasn't because of Fear and
that.
Loathing, but it's why I think he could have done those things, maybe, and why it was interesting to me that he was up for it.
A real talent for world building. And I listened to a commentary track that he did for this, where he talked about the use of CGI. And I took down this quote here. He said, the problem with CGI when you're inventing worlds is it's only invented by a few people. The real world is made up by millions of people over thousands of years and natural forces. So there's mess everywhere. Things are surprising because they haven't been made or planned by a very small group of people. And I was like, God damn it. That is so, like, I did not go into Fear and Loathing thinking, like, this is going to explain to me the problem with, like, modern Marvel movies or anything. But
that's like Hunter S. Thompson levels of sort of pith and wisdom there, actually.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that is why he's so good at world building. He builds the mess into it. And that's what we're losing as everything gets moved onto the volume. And, there's just, like, Star Wars is the perfect sort of progression of that. In 1977, Star Wars was remarkable because the world building production design was so messy. And now The Mandalorian is all done on a soundstage with holograms projected behind them, and it's all too clean. And maybe it's just that simple.
Yeah.
Ironically, I don't know if this is 100% true, but I believe there was CG in this movie there was a Tobey Maguire issue.
Oh, there's some, yeah. I mean, it really doesn't start eating him alive until the next film, Brothers Grimm. It becomes sort of a bad thing for Terry Gilliam. The CGI.
That's his next film after this?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that poor guy has trouble getting things made.
He does.
It takes a while.
Yeah, I mean, Lost in La Mancha's coming up around this time too. That's the failed Don Quixote film. This is sort of a defining line in the career. Honestly, it's kind of downhill after this.
Yeah.
But also, what an amazing. It's sort of a flash forward, but like it makes him such an appropriate person for this material that. One, I guess he's already built up the chip on his shoulder. The idea that he clearly shared that, Thompson is, among other things, a paranoiac. And the idea that powers that be are conspiring against him to thwart his plans has already settled into Gilliam's psyche, I think.
There's a kinship
from
here.
the studios to God himself. And the idea that his statement there on CGI is so clear-eyed, and yet it will not protect him from falling victim to exactly that thing he's about to run into going forward. Puts him in spiritual kinship with these hippies that feel like they lost the battle there. That they had all the right ideas and the right energy, and it didn't carry them over.
It's weirdly kind of a linchpin film in a lot of ways, and yeah, it is. It seems like it doesn't fit next to all the British high fantasy stuff, but I think as we're talking about it here, it's so on point, really. And I think having this sort of a creative kinship with Thompson and I think Depp too, honestly. Mm-hmm. I think that him and Del Toro, they're all very much in sync here, is the sense you get. Like this is a fruitful collaboration. There
were 4 creative voices on this film. This way it seems like to be between Thompson, Gilliam, and the 2 stars. Mm-hmm. All 4 of those people seem very difficult to work with and have had major clashes creatively with people. That they all somehow collaborated this productively seems like one of the greatest miracles in the history of filmmaking.
Yeah. Huh. I'm honestly a little surprised, Al, that you're with me on this one because most people aren't. This is not one of his popular ones, I think, except for that cult. There's some of us out there that really think no, this is one of the great American films, and I'm glad you're there with me. Your perspective, though, David, like you're coming basically a lot fresher than we are. Mm-hmm. Does this? Are we doing crazy talk here? I mean, are we absolutely ridiculous in what we're saying about this film? Because I think that, I think if you pulled like critics right now, it'd been any of the biggest critics you get, I think this would probably be a rotten rated film on Rotten Tomatoes. I think that
I don't know about that.
But
here's my theory, David. You tell me if I hit close to anything here.
All right.
That as much as maybe this is a movie that if you show it to a 15-year-old white boy, it will blow them back and permanently imprint on them. Is there another way into this, which is that people who went to film school are just going to be taken with this on a technical level? Appreciate it for its singular vision.
Oh, I was just reading an article the other day about how film school students don't even want to watch films anymore.
I read that. It was infuriating.
Yeah, that's infuriating. I think this would be challenging for most people just on the basis of it. It's really hard to say. I honestly, I'm more with you guys than I thought I would be. I kind of love this, but I also would never recommend this casually to somebody. It's you got to check this out. It's great.
I would is the thing. It was the best comedy. Oh man, it's so funny.
It is, but it's not the type of funny that I think is necessarily going to interface with somebody who doesn't know what they're getting into.
One thing I did in preparation for this is I watched YouTube videos of millennials watching this for the first time. First viewings.
Oh, amazing.
That must have been very entertaining.
Oh, it was great. It was great. Like almost all of them had a moment, like about 10 minutes in, where they're just like, so are they just going to be like this the whole movie?
Well, that is definitely, I mean, that's not a millennial thing. I had that same thing in the 90s. They rented off the Blockbuster shelf.
I mean, it does seem to play, though. It seems like people like this, It seems like as a comedy, just as strictly as a comedy. Leave aside, the commentary on the 60s. I think this does just work for a lot of people, in the way a Jim Carrey would, or something, any sort of broad, it's goofy guys being funny. It just happens to be that they're talking about mescaline and ether and shit like this.
Turning this movie over in my thoughts the last few days, I thought it was going to be... this is not a comparison of two movies. I'm just saying something like Man of Steel. I really, really like half of Man of Steel, and I really, really hate half of Man of Steel. And I thought that's how I was going to settle on this, where half of it I just think is brilliant, and half of it I think is obnoxious. But I honestly, I think I've come around. The more I think about it, the more it kind of washes over me. I think I like this a lot more than I don't.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that there's half of it that I love and half of it I hate. There's a half of it that's fun and a half of it that's really not.
Yeah, but not being fun doesn't mean it's not of value in a movie that's about, an epitaph for a generation.
That's my point. I think you need the not fun part to complete the picture.
Yeah, I guess that's why I'm finding this a very difficult question to answer. Because do I say, well, like the White Rabbit scene, maybe a little drags on a little. Like what? You can't critique this movie in that way. It defies your ability to critique it as if it's a normal movie. It's not a movie; it's an experience.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There is no plot to speak of, really. So you have to you aggressively have to meet this movie on its level, and if you're willing to be open-minded and do that, I think you're going to have a great time, and you're going to be quoting it for a long time.
Yeah, the next 30 years. Case maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just thinking back on the movie randomly every couple of hours for the past few days, and the funniest line, it cracks. I can't stop laughing when I think of this line. Is Gonzo is talking to Lucy on the phone, and Hunter thinks to himself, Jesus, I wouldn't have dropped that on somebody who's on acid. Or just something like that. It's a very funny movie.
My favorite line, maybe my favorite line is the way that Del Toro just kind of barks his disapproval in the hallway. There, he's wrapped up in the road, and he's like, "Oh, that's so ugly." Oh,
he's just overcome with.
Really, it's such a great performance choice. Yeah, like on the commentary track I was to do, Gilliam was just giggling at that, saying like couldn't get over his he's like, I just love this choice by Benicio to just sort of wave his hands at him. But I mean, there's so many good lines, and a lot of them are slurred and barely.
Oh yeah, there's things you won't
regimented.
catch till a fifth viewing just because of how it's delivered. The thing he says is they're going into the circus casino on the ether.
The ether.
They're doing the ether walk.
Yeah.
Gets up to the terminal and it says, "Dogs fuck the Pope, no fault of mine."
That reminded me of the Wolf of Wall Street when Belfort takes the
Wolf of Wall Street.
Quaaludes.
Yes, Wolf of Wall Street is probably the closest anyone's come to catching this movie. I think.
It's a
I
very
think
similar.
DiCaprio studied this movie.
Yeah,
for
uh-huh.
Probably.
Wall
It's
Street.
one I want to talk about when we
Yeah.
There's two. I mean, just naming weird favorites. Like my favorite bit of the voiceover is at the very beginning, almost, where Tobey Maguire's in the back seat and he's talking to himself about like, well, I guess we'll just have to cut his head off and bury him somewhere because it goes without saying we can't cut him loose. And he starts like on the screen mumbling along with the voiceover in his head, and then stops. Us. Jesus, did I say that out loud?
That's teaching you how to watch the movie right
so
away.
good.
It's
I know,
great.
it's-
Yeah, it's so cool. And that kind of gamesmanship never stops. It's with the angles on it. Like it switches to the POV of Tobey Maguire in the back there, and he turns around and they're speeding down the road. Depp turns around and says, so what you need to understand is, and it's immediately just like the way that he's shooting this stuff is so it's destabilizing every step of the way. And if you told me this movie made you vomit, I would make sense to me. Not least for the vomit smash cut and near the end.
Yes.
One of the most memorable of all time, maybe.
There's a lot of Gilliam movies that I understand feeling, that I find his shooting style a little bit nauseating. And I mean that, and I guess in the most complimentary way I could say it. It's never stronger than it is here or more appropriate for the material.
And just the lighting as well. Like everything's bathed in weird new, like
Yes.
Vegas neon, bright magenta colors. Then it's blue, and it's a crazy looking film, top to bottom. And then you've got like Henson shop creatures show up time to time.
Well, I mentioned this, I watched Where the Buffalo Roam recently, and that is such a contrast to me, and why I'm like, yeah, this movie is not for everybody. Why would you want to do this any other way? Because Where the Buffalo Roam tries to do a more straightforward, not biopic exactly, but structured story around Thompson and Gonzo. And I don't know, maybe I have a totally different impression of it if I had seen that before the Gilliam version.
Mm-hmm.
But doing straightforward cinematography on these hijinks makes them so much flatter. There's no voiceover there.
Right.
So there's more pressure on Bill Murray to sort of within the scene guide it while still doing all the Thompson shtick, which it's a harder lift in some ways there. But having a straightforward coverage on these scenes from a cinematography standpoint does it no favors.
No.
And then the auditory version of that is the soundtrack of Where the Buffalo Roam is so like normie version of the 60s and 70s. It's like Purple Haze and All on the Watchtower, and I heard it through the grapevine. And Gilliam, through his Python connections, I think has a better line into authentic hippie music and musicians, and has better track selection for the soundtrack here.
Fantastic
soundtrack.
soundtrack for this, by the way. It goes without saying.
Yeah. And obviously you got some, you got Jefferson Airplane and shit, like, White Rabbit obviously is a set piece. There's some of the natural things that you'd expect. You don't expect to hear the teddy bear picnic pop up, for an extended scene at the Bazooka Circus. There's a lot of really kind of clever offbeat hit. It reminds me of something like Big Lebowski or like it's sort of an immaculately sound designed soundtrack. Just
Don't fuck with me,
And you
man.
get like Wayne Newton.
yeah, of course. I mean, it's Vegas. Yeah, you gotta have.
Yeah, you get that in there as part of that. Yeah. And then, but you also get the birds and One Toke Over the Line and stuff. Yeah. The Dylan deep cuts. It's not doing Times Arrow change, and it's going to do Stuck Outside a Mobile.
Yeah.
Memphis Blues again.
Yeah.
Oh God. There's another big factor in this movie, big thing that's going on, which is that it's just a cameo film. It's loaded with weird cameos.
Yeah.
You know. I think they all basically work. It's
a little distracting, which I don't think is the movie's fault. But when Cameron Diaz pokes up for one scene, it's holy shit, it's Cameron Diaz. Okay, bye, Cameron.
The only thing I would say about that, I don't think it's, first of all, I don't think this is a movie where distracting cameos are a problem. It adds to the sort of drug-fueled dreaminess. Like when you have dreams where like somebody pops up, or like you recognize that they're playing a character, but it's somebody doing the character in that dream or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that I wouldn't complain about Cameron Diaz like pulling me out, except there's something about her. She seems so of the 90s to me.
That's true.
That she seems out of time in a way that Gary Busey and Harry Dean Stanton don't. Even Christina Ricci for some reason.
Well, Busey and Stanton are like of this era in a big way,
right?
They've been in plenty of 70s films. So
very ironic that Gary Busey is playing the sober tough cop who is probably more high than Depp on set.
That's a good one. Who's okay? Around the
horn. Michael Jeter.
That's my favorite one. That was my favorite kid. It's so good.
Which one is that?
That's
he's giving a lecture at the DA conference.
Oh, right.
About the know your dope fiend, and
they call it a roach because it resembles
like
a roach.
Cockroach.
Doesn't look like a fucking roach.
That's what Gilliam's so good at. Like that's what it was baked in from Time Bandits. His sort of disgust with the idea of people trading in their fantasy and imagination for the microwave kitchen set and the banality of that. And so his contempt for the police conference there and their laughing to our lame joke is really visceral. And but it's like with Time Bandits or whatever, it's explicitly fantasy and imagination. And with this, it is kind of the dream of the 60s was a fantasy. It wasn't real. It was never going to win. But God damn it, like to join the pigs is just to commit spiritual suicide. And why would you want that over living a messy, broken life?
And that's why Vegas is the perfect place for it, too. It's the perfect setting because it's sort of this adult Disneyland. It is this incredibly, constructed and fake reality that is basically a game show. It exists to kind of be flashy and with the promise of winning money and winning sort of commercial things and objects and, and money and wealth and the American dream with sort of this theme park set on top of it that is very false, but
you can win all this money at the expense of everyone else and their money.
Yeah.
But even that, it's a dream. It's a fiction. It's a mirage. And can I tell you one little detail I noticed for the first time, like the 35th time I watched it this week? Yeah. When they pull into Vegas, this is probably just a production design error. But when they first pull onto the strip and there's a banner over the street saying the fabulous Mint 400, it says $100,000 Mint 400. And then when he goes to the actual race the following day, the banner over the starting line says Mint 400, $50,000. And that's probably just a mistake that they either didn't notice and didn't care when they did see. But also, what a kind of perfect thematic thing of but there's a capitalist rug pull going on.
Oh yeah, it could be one of those that we give Stanley Kubrick an enormous amount of credit for the geography of The Shining that I think might just be continuity problems, but it does. It's the kind of movie that is heightened and quality enough that it is malleable in that way, and it does actually. You can make the argument that it benefits and is useful and disarming in a way that is appropriate for the text. That circus scene, by the way, the Bazooka Circus is sort of a production design highlight of the entire career. I think just top to bottom, everything you see there is amazing. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Circus in Las Vegas. It feels like that.
Because I read this
Yeah.
book and saw this movie so many times. When I finally went to Vegas, it was like the first thing I wanted to do and see if it was still there.
Is it spot on, like exactly this? I mean, obviously we don't have like
I think
guys,
I turned
but,
it down since in the 20 years since I was there. That like first, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't think they quite have. It's not the drug fever dream that is presented here, but I mean, the place feels presented, and I remember a very distinct smell inside Circus that seems to be emanating out of the screen in those scenes as well. Just all the weird little shops and things that they've set up there, and like there's a monkey behind the desk at one, then there's a Klansman next to him, and then there's Penn
There's
Jillette.
shooting galleries and a pinwheel where you throw darts at somebody, which does, and all even those carnival booths feel like they're squeezed a little too close together.
Yeah.
Like the walls between them are too thin, so like people are elbow to elbow with people at the next one, and it feels uncomfortable and disorienting.
It's got that Benicio del Toro at the carousel bar, and he's like, "Man, I think this place is getting to me."
I'm getting the fear.
Yeah.
Capital F, capital F, the fear is what a great concept.
And I think the response is, "What? We've been looking for the American dream. Now we're right in the heart of it. And you want to leave?"
Yeah.
He says, "There's a woman fucking a polar bear over there. Don't tell me that, man. Don't tell me that stuff."
Yeah, that's like the great old man stuff. He doesn't say, "No, oh my gosh, don't tell me that stuff, man."
I've never been to Vegas. I should go. It's so cheap to fly there, but I didn't realize
Circus
Circus was a real
stay
place.
there now.
Yeah, you don't think you're going to save money going to Vegas? Yeah.
Oh well, it's
not right now. But I don't think the Circus is still. I mean, the thing about Vegas is even.
Is it gone now? Is it?
I believe Circus is gone in the last 15 years.
All right.
But I have to look that up. But even that, like, it's a place built on sand, literally and figuratively. And there's such turnover there that the Vegas of 1971 was probably, the Flamingo was probably still around, maybe the Tropicana, but the Mint Hotel was gone by 1980 probably. And there's such a complete turnover there from one decade to the next.
I mean,
you're not going to see the sights from this movie in the modern day.
This is the full-on casino era, essentially, right? This is when like fucking Ace Rothstein is just down the block.
Yeah, the mob is running the whole town at this point.
They're kind of lucky that nothing happens to them.
Yeah, there's a little more suggestion of this in the book, I guess, but it's something that I think is easy to miss in the modern context, was that this is mob Vegas as opposed to modern day Vegas, and that plays into maybe some of the lesser surveillance going on, and the idea that
some of the improv too, I believe.
Yeah, well, if you just show up at a place acting like a lunatic, but if you tip well, there becomes a presumption that, well, we probably shouldn't, like, this person would not be acting this way if they didn't know somebody connected higher up. And the mob bosses aren't necessarily being totally transparent with us about who their friends are. So there's more of a presumption on the part of the help that we should not just throw this guy out immediately.
Yeah,
that's the in the book. I don't know if that's accurate.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, maybe my impression from stuff like Casino is that they're interested in like cheats or the cops. Yeah. That's where their attention is. They don't care about X Factor guys like this, just who are spending money or being they can. I guess they don't like them wrecking the suite, I imagine, but they don't find that out till later.
Well, he runs down the list at the end, the great list of violating every rule that Vegas. Law that Vegas was by burning the locals, abusing the tourists, terrorizing the help.
Okay,
this is okay. Like this, the excess and the depravity and I guess criminality on display. It rides a line of you never really root for them to be caught or punished exactly, because they terrorize the help, but they don't quite hurt anybody. I guess the character that's left a touch ambiguous.
Heavily implied pedophilia in this movie. I'm not going to. I am not cheering for Benicio del Toro at that point.
No, but do you want him to be arrested? You're hoping they get caught by the
apparently hotel. the real guy got disappeared a few years after this.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Yes, he disappeared on a boat in Mexico.
yeah, I think that sorted itself out. Doesn't matter what I think.
I don't know, within the four walls of the movie, they don't like this is important presentation stuff. I feel like that guides how we react to things, and there's such a difference between heavily implying something off screen and really depicting it on screen.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I just barely. I'm still with the characters by the end of the movie, just barely. The Del Toro intimidating the waitress scene really.
Yeah,
I did not.
You're kind of done with
that.
him.
Is as close as possible as I could be to completely done with this fucking prick.
I mean, that's the end. Is essentially like, oh, this got real. We got to run away.
Yeah,
like this has to end now.
And it doesn't do.
Again, he threatens her. He doesn't hit her, which would, I think, cross that line entirely for every single person.
Sure, but he intimidates and terrorizes her, which
I mean, it's very important that happens at that moment. I think.
Right, and then Duke is just when he witnesses this stuff, he's just sitting there observing. So I'm not, as people, I'm not huge fans of these two. I wouldn't idolize them. In any way.
No, and if there was anybody who was a voice of reason in the square or sober world that was a more attractive figure, you might root for them to be caught more than you do.
But they are.
You're not really rooting for the Michael Jeter side of things to put these guys away.
The movie paints them definitively as the most interesting people in the world, and everyone else is unappealing. Well, not everyone is unappealing, but most other background characters aren't appealing.
That's such a powerful thing in cinematic depictions, though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, everyone else is kind of an NPC, really. It's. I mean, they're basically playing Grand Theft Auto in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
With extreme satire and everything.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But they have. It's Grand Theft Auto, but they have to keep all the violence to the level of threat.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Right.
And not actualized. That's the same.
I like the little asides that you get. Probably because this is a novel, it's a bit shaggier. You get asides that you wouldn't otherwise get in a, a traditionally structured script, like the guy doing
Christopher Maloney.
Well, I was going to bring up Christopher Maloney, who's a great character, and that is just a specific little aside that's fun. But also the LSD guy in the bathroom, and Duke thinks about that guy's life is ruined now.
I love that.
Yeah, little fun asides that are interesting color.
Yeah, I mean, I think that all the movies, like, real meaning and important comes across kind of in just those little bits, all the side stuff. I think if you take that out, it is just debauchery. But when it's presented together, that's when you get the film, really. And it's a great way to kind of make this the Hunter S. Thompson movie. I mean, Fear and Loathing is his most celebrated work, but this kind of covers like the entirety of his whole deal. I mean, I saw this movie when I was a kid and a teenager, and I had a Hunter S. Thompson period afterwards, as you would expect. I read a lot of his stuff after that, and it is surprising how completely this kind of captures the voice, even if it's just adapting the one thing. Now the novel Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is a pretty compact distillation as well. So just by following the blueprint there, you got it. But yeah, I mean, he's kind of doing a movie about an entire counterculture here, just seen through this one prism, and as good a version of that as I can think of. I don't know. I kind of got away from my original point there, but
no, I think there is something about this that makes further adaptations of Thompson work redundant.
Yes,
you don't need to do the Rum Diary or Hell's Angels or anything.
Yeah, I mean, Hell's Angels is a very interesting thing. It's quite separate, but it's the interesting part about that is also presented basically in this film, without actually adapting it. Yeah, good stuff, top to bottom. There is one thing in here that ends up kind of being one of the weirdest legacies of the film, which is, of course, the adrenochrome bit.
Oh yeah, I made a note of this.
So strange.
I made a note of this. We need that. So you guys probably have more knowledge about this situation than I do, but if you want to set it up,
I'm pretty sure this is something that's made up in the book. Like
Yes, it is.
That's my understanding.
He made up a drug.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
To be a more extreme drug because he needed, I guess, he intuited the need for some sort of structure where people who started out mixing mescaline and acid and had progressed to ether by the end of the first act needed another line to cross. So he made up adrenochrome as some sort of extract that's pulled directly out of a human adrenaline gland.
Yeah, like some sort of Mayan sacrifice, basically, to getting high. And the most intense high, the most intense drug sequence of the film, probably. And for some reason, 30 years later.
For some reason, being the sort of slow degradation of, I guess, American public education and collapse of basic media literacy among the American public.
Yeah.
All the people decided adrenochrome was a real thing, and that also probably the people that they don't like politically were most likely kidnapping and sacrificing children to harvest their adrenaline glands for this drug purpose.
That's some real Slender Man bullshit here. Yeah.
This is a QAnon conspiracy theory, isn't that?
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
a cornerstone of QAnon, yes.
Do you think Hunter would find that hilarious or deeply upsetting, or both? That this has become...
I think both is how he found most things about America.
Right.
Yeah. That's about right. I mean, he killed himself a couple years before this happened.
He offed himself because he couldn't handle how degraded he found the bush air to be.
Oh God, I'm so grateful that he's not suffering.
Say what about the man? He knows how to leave the party at the right time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gross. But it is all. I mean, it's kind of incredible. Honestly, I think that is. It's not a good thing that happened exactly, but it is sort of exactly to the point, and to. Well, I don't know if that's Thompson's point, but it is a terrifying kind of sign of the times.
It is something he returns to. One thing they like to do that's in the book more, but he and the attorney get off on, I guess, is they will just spin stories to the cops about crazed Manson hippies and all the things they're doing, and part of it's they're doing guerrilla theater satire about how easily these guys will believe the most outrageous lies, and that was borne out to such a broad cultural level. I don't know. I mean, would he be happy to have his point proved that way? That's the type of thing. Like
I think Gilliam would be.
It's a strong. Yes, Gilliam. I think. Yeah, yes,
Gilliam's probably delighted. It's like Czech Polonia because it's like I love that I coined the term snowflake. Thinks that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Gilliam, I don't think was ever, for as much as he's a fantasist, never as much of a romantic as Thompson was. Like I said, I don't think Gilliam had both feet in the hippie scene.
No, not really. He was cynical already. I doubt he had the time at the top of the wave where he thought things were going to work out. That seems antithetical to Python as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway,
well,
great movie.
One of the best.
This is really surprising to me, John, that you like it as much as you do, not because of anything about you personally, but just how did we get through 5 years of doing this with somehow we had never talked about this movie with each other. It's important to both of us. But it's I guess of a time before we knew each other, and we sort of compartmentalize it a bit.
It's definitely a movie that speaks to me about college experiences, my time in college.
Yeah.
That's when I watched this over and over. That's when it became such an important thing to me, and it's never really gone away or anything. But obviously, I knew it had to happen at some point here. I've been pushing for Gilliam for a while,
even earlier, high school for me. It was this and Dazed and Confused I had discs of that just sort of went, one of them would go on when we had downtime, we had nothing to do. This talking about movies about a doomed generation and stories about a different era. But we didn't have smartphones. We just had nothing to do for long stretches of time. You just put something on in the background, and this is one of them.
Another one of the rare pro-drug movies, Dazed and Confused.
Yeah. True,
to that point, I do think, there's a downside to drugs here. Johnny Depp, I believe, said you'd have to be crazy to want to do drugs after seeing this movie, and I'm just like, I don't know about that, Depp.
I think it opened me up to. It made me less nervous about smoking weed. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
that is one of my favorite visual gags in the movie. Is the sign 20 years in prison if you have marijuana. Like that's going to age more hilariously as time goes on.
I mean, I'll tell you straight up. I tried hallucinogenic drugs because of this film, basically 1-to-1. Like I get
how'd it go?
Pretty good, honestly. It was good. I left it in college, but it had some good times. Had my mind expanded, enjoyed it, saw the benefits, and was able to put it aside. Yeah, I mean, as
That's
like that Bill
I
Hicks
don't know
routine,
that I would have.
Yeah,
Because there's some drugs that I never had that I always like maintained a fear of.
Oh yeah, sure.
I've still never done cocaine, and I just didn't think that it would go well with me for whatever reason. I think I probably only had the balls to do hallucinogens because I had seen this movie so many times and had such this vivid picture painted for me of like, what's the worst that could happen? Well, this. And I know I remember that scenario. I'm not saying that I really thought that out.
Looks like a good time most of the time.
Yeah.
You have an experience at the circus casino or whatever. Yeah. Maybe you'll see a moray eel person
until you wake up in a suite that is literally hell. There's a pool now in my suite.
No, I mean, well, honestly, I credit this film in a positive way. I think some hallucinogenic drugs were good. I think I had a good experience on mushrooms, specifically, and would recommend them to people, in a controlled environment. Yeah.
I think growing up in the very middle of the Midwest in Catholic schools, I think that the drug fear probably would have kept me more careful. This again got me to maybe be more comfortable trying hallucinogens, and also with the idea of going out in public on them, such that I would recommend taking a bit of mushrooms and going to the Monterey Bay Aquarium to anybody, because that was
sounds
a
awesome.
Good experience.
Sounds like a great time. I think the Olympic National Forest
whales were not threatening at all.
So yeah, I think it's a pro-drug movie in that way. It's I don't know. It's kind of one of those things like where just presenting the thing makes it difficult for it to not be in a cinematic way. That is, makes it hard for it to be anything but a pro-drug movie. In the same way that what Truffaut says, there's no anti-war movies. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who can say though? I think Spielberg says there's no pro-war movies. Anyway, that's a different topic.
He's definitely less right than Truffaut.
I agree.
Okay, so everybody, drugs, yay! That's our conclusion.
Yeah, afraid so. It's part of the thing here. But no, this is I adore this film. I think this is a kind of a foundational masterpiece. I think it's just one of the most unique movies ever made. I think it's hilariously funny, still hilariously funny. Hasn't lost a bit of it. I think it's smart and clever and really, really one of the most constructed kind of cinematic experiences that you're likely to find. And I'm kind of surprised that even at the time it was not acknowledged as such. Even though I get people don't like it, I'm just like, but why? There's so much more irritating or boring movies that this functions as a comedy,
and it's all like with the source material too. I would think if you came into this with any affection for or even openness to the source material, I can't imagine looking at this and going, they could have done better.
No, not at all. Yeah, I don't know. I guess Hunter S. Thompson is himself an acquired taste. I mean,
right? Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah. There are a lot of squares out there. Let's be fair.
Sure.
Yeah.
I guess that's me. I've never tried hallucinogenics, so I guess I'm the square.
You should, David. That's the point.
This movie did not convince me that this would.
Well, you had to be fucking 17 years old, man. This movie's like it's like the fucking camel mascot, Actually, it's fun and cool. It's a cartoon.
Well, I mean, it's also, I don't know. You have to have a good destination, a drug destination. I don't know what the Canadian equivalent would be. If you can really go on a drug-fueled bender to northern Winnipeg.
There's got to be a road trip. I didn't realize.
Anything outdoors and temperate is probably going to be an okay time. Actually.
Yeah.
The Canadian Fear and Loathing is actually would be incredible.
Yeah,
their fictional drug involves like tapping into maple trees to extract.
I knew you were going to say that. You son of a bitch.
We're on a search for the Northwest Passage.
We go in our igloos to get our acid. Yeah.
No, you rent a fancy dog sleigh, and it pulls you across the Yukon.
Mm-hmm.
All the dogs are transforming into hellhounds and stuff.
All right. We did it here. We talked about Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. This is wow, not what I expected, honestly. This has been great fun. And
it's a podcast that doesn't know how to end because it's a story that doesn't know how to end itself. The movie just kind of ends. But is similar.
Yeah, you can fade back in another freak in the freak kingdom. And next up for Gilliam is going to be Brothers Grimm, as we mentioned. That's the party's over.
It exists.
End of an era. The wave is crested, and now we roll back for 5 movies.
There's some interesting stuff in there, but kind of. All right, and thank you for joining us, David. And all right, we'll be talking about that one in the near future. Thanks for listening.
Distributing swords is no basis for a system of government.
It's evil! Don't touch it!
That was only one of the many occasions on which I met my death.